And we're live.
All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Worldwide Wednesday podcast. I'm your host Sovereign,
And I'm your host, Shiny.
and apologies for starting late today, but
Work is now a thing for both of us now, as the podcast is now no longer my full-time thing, and now have another job that I work to help supplement our income. And unfortunately, that job has me working up until 7 p.m. on Wednesdays.
yeah. So hopefully that doesn't inhibit our ability too much to make new episodes, but let's get going from here.
Yeah. So, first topic, which one do you want to start out with? They're both Marvel, they both start with MO, but one was good and other was disappointing. Which one do you want to start?
I want to get Morbius out of the way, man.
Okay, we're starting with Morbius, the living vampire.
So, opinions out of the way here first. You don't need to see this movie. This movie, nothing happened in it. There was nothing substantial for you to go see. Nothing that would entice you to go into this theater. I am so glad I was not sober for this movie.
You got drunk?
No, no.
I was about to say, wait a minute, we only drank a little bit in the theaters.
Well, I did down that thing pretty fast, but
Okay, that's fair. I sipped it throughout the movie.
no, I was halfway through, like 5 minutes in.
I realized, oh, wait a minute, maybe I do want to pay attention to at least the details of what's happening. But then, I probably should have drank more because there really wasn't much that happened.
Okay, so positives. The first 15 minutes resembled a movie.
I will say that the first 15 minutes, and this is probably some of the best praise I can give the movie, the first 15 minutes of this movie had the bones of what could potentially be a very good character-based movie. Like, this could have been a very interesting deep dive into what it's like to be disabled and how that colors your view of the world and what would happen to a disabled person if they now suddenly went from being disabled to superhuman
Yeah,
and how that affects them as a person and their perceptions of self as well as their relationship to the rest of society. The first 15 minutes very much set up something that could have resembled a decent narrative with a decent message about that, independent of all the superhero stuff. But then the other, what was it, 75 minutes of the movie came in, and yeah.
yeah. And even with the first 15 minutes, like, it was obvious they were trying to set up a connection between the hero and the villain, but they had nothing. Like,
But
they had more chemistry when they grew up, even though they needed to dedicate more time to their childhood. Like,
yeah,
honestly, that scene should have been 5 minutes longer with them before they aged the characters up.
exactly. I mean, in my opinion, I think the movie should have just flat out started with them as children.
Yeah,
I don't think we should have started out with him flying to Costa Rica. I think it should have started with him meeting Lucian at the orphanage together. Or was it an orphanage? It was a.
it didn't seem
It
like
wasn't an orphanage.
again.
It was more.
This movie doesn't dive into the details at all.
It wasn't an or. It was like a home. A home for disabled children. I'm guessing.
Yeah, because it was right across from a school, so
But they didn't go to that school, and it didn't seem like the other kids in the home went to that school. I mean, there's a clear divide from what we saw with the more able-bodied kids at the school making fun of the disabled. Which, my God, I am telling you, this movie could have been a very good movie about being disabled. But I genuinely think that this entire concept was completely incidental. Like, it was not in any way intended, but the way everything just was laid out, you could have told a phenomenal story about being disabled. And it would have been fresh, it would have been new, it would have taken what would have been a a relatively unknown character and catapulted them into an icon for an entire unsung demographic within superhero fandom.
yeah.
But of course, this is Sony we're talking about, so good ideas were just not in the cards.
Not at all. And then I just want to talk about these characters because How about this? Let's play a game. List out one character trait that comes from Michael Morbius that isn't associated with any other character in the entirety of the
Okay, wait a minute. That's not fair. You could do that with other characters in the MCU. Let's just limit it to characters within the movie. Morbius is nice.
And
That's it. Martine,
is a fridge.
yeah,
She's there to get fridged.
she's fridge. Lucian is a psychopath. Nicholas is a fridge. So far we have a nice guy, a psychopath, and 2 fridges, and that's about 2/3 of our cast already. Our final 2 members of the cast are Stroud and Rodriguez, which all I can say is Rodriguez is superstitious and Stroud is moody.
Yeah.
And that is basically our entire cast right there, all of 6 characters.
And also, just I brought this up when I was watching the movie, but they make the most laughable decisions in this movie.
Yeah,
Like the 2 detectives, like I don't know what they did, but like
literally, the only reason the detectives have a point in this movie is because they paid Tyrese Gibson to be in this movie, and thus needed to justify the millions of dollars they spent on hiring him for this movie.
because what these guys do is they literally walk up to, hey, you saved my kids, you're arrested now, with no pretense whatsoever.
Oh well, there was
Like
there was a little bit of pretense. It was more like, yo, we just found this dead woman with all of her blood. Why don't you go arrest the doctor that is known for creating artificial blood and to our knowledge is crippled and probably could not beat this woman at all under any circumstances, much less be able to bite through her skin, drain all of her blood, and still walk around like a normal fucking person.
Actually, was there any evidence that he left behind that he was on that damn boat?
No! No! Okay, so here's the thing. The only evidence of him being on the boat is the fact that his assistant was on the boat.
And
They didn't even mention how the voice that called into the distress call could have sort of kind of sounded like Dr. Michael Morbius, who was just in the news. They were just like, unidentified male, drop that plot point, and they're like, well, he could be on the boat because, well, you know, he's a kooky doctor, so who knows, despite the fact that everything that has been established within the movie by that point shows that not only is Michael Morbius a genius prodigy doctor, but he's very moral and very much above board in his research, considering the movie starts with him getting a Nobel fucking Peace Prize.
Actually, he rejected the Nobel Peace Prize.
He rejected it, but that should tell you even more that why would you assume that that man would be somehow, some way, be affiliated with this random boat that came up up the side of Long Island filled with dead mercenaries and an unconscious woman?
No, you don't get it. You don't get it. Assistant on boat. Handcuffs.
No, but see, that's the thing. They didn't arrest him for the assistant on boat. They're arresting him for the murder of a woman that, to their knowledge, could not have been murdered by him because he's fucking crippled and this woman has all of her blood drained out of her body.
Yeah, you know.
To their knowledge, they are arresting a man that cannot stand under his own power for murdering someone by draining her blood!
Which, I mean, just the cops part of the plot in this movie is the stupidest part, which, based, but...
I mean, yes. If anything, this is anti-cop ganda right here. If anything, this is actually the most accurate portrayal of the NYPD I have ever seen, because the NYPD, as someone that is used to live in New York, is fucking dumb. They are downright incompetent, and when they striked in real life, crime rate went down! So this movie, if anything, is accurate in showing that the NYPD are dumb as shit.
Yeah. And then Oh, what else do I want to rant about this movie?
Matt Smith carried this movie hard.
Yeah, yeah. Somehow the villain managed to carry this whole plot.
That's not a somehow. Lots of great movies have a good villain.
No,
This
no,
is
no.
more of
Just
this was the only good actor in the movie. And they were like, "So, Matt, you're a psychopath, and so what we want you to do is pretend you're the doctor, but you're a vampire." Because I am convinced that Matt Smith is just playing the doctor, just slightly more unhinged.
yeah, because for all intents and purposes, Jared Leto did not give a bad performance. He didn't give
Yeah,
a good performance.
he just
It's just why hire him if he's not going to provide anything to the role?
if anything, Jared Leto works in the role solely from a visual perspective.
Yeah,
As I think Jared Leto is someone that perfectly embodies the visual aesthetic of what a real life Michael Morbius would look like. Because when he's playing like the crippled doctor, he pulls that off really well in terms of his actual physical body actions and acting. Not any dialogue, but the way he carries himself in the role I think matched it very well. His mannerisms, the way he kind of speaks slowly, like he's very he has the certain aura of himself of a recluse doctor.
that just complements our first comment at the beginning. Whereas, like, okay, the first 15 minutes are the bones of a good plot. What happened to the rest of the damn movie?
Because yeah, the problem with the movie is that Jared Leto plays a very good Dr. Michael Morbius, but he doesn't necessarily play a good Morbius the Living Vampire.
Yeah,
Which is a huge problem when the living vampire part is the majority of the movie.
yeah. And then one thing I do want to complain about is the effects. Now, mind you, when the effects are active when they use echolocation,
That shit was amazing.
that was good. Everywhere else, I hated it.
Like, I really like the concept of the slowdown during a fight. I think that's really cool, and I think it really is good at giving a sense of scale as to how fast they're potentially moving.
See,
The
I
problem is that
see. I'm actually against using slow mo in fights.
really
I will pull us back to our review of Eternals, where we complimented the fact they didn't use slowdown in Makari.
Well, that's different in the sense that I feel with Makari, it made more sense to have her be super fast because we all have a relativistic sense that Marvel characters are fast, but we needed to really show that Makari is super fast. But with Morbius, I think it makes more sense for the slowdown because he's fast in the sense that he's almost teleporting or he's almost turning into mist.
Yeah.
So, like, most of the fight, you're not actually seeing, like, the physical forms. You're seeing almost after images. So I think the slowdown was a bit more appropriate,
Yeah.
but I don't think they used it well enough.
See, here's the thing: is that I will say DC has it a little more stylized with the slow mo. I will still say they overuse it, but I think they do it at least somewhat decently, even if
Yeah,
it is overplayed.
yeah.
Here, it just doesn't benefit the movie, in my opinion.
It doesn't benefit the movie. It doesn't benefit the fight scenes in particular because the fight scenes aren't that good. I
Fight
mean,
scene.
there's two. The subway fight. We gotta count that.
I don't know.
The subway fight was a fight.
They literally just threw like two punches and then Morbius just flew away.
Well, you gotta remember the first part where they fought into the subway, and then Lucian killed 5 cops, which based. But then Lucian killed 5 cops, and then they went down into the subway. And then Morbius rode like the wind, bullseye! I will say it was absolutely fucking hilarious the amount of slow mo they used on the CGI Matt Smith vampire running running down the subway platform trying to catch Morbius. Because I'm like, how did anyone edit this with a straight face and say, this looks badass? And not, this is absolutely ridiculous.
See, I hate the like So you know how like they changed the bone structure for when they
Yeah, their cheeks get sunken in more and you see their bones protruding.
So here's what I have with that. When they do it at the end of the movie, like showing Morbius completely transformed, I liked that.
Yeah.
But when it was in this like middle transformation, I hated it so much. It looked so off-putting. And then as soon as I see the final transformation, I'm like, oh, that's why it looks goddamn awful. It's because it's a midpoint, and oh my god.
Yeah, it definitely seems like they they had two transformations. They had base form and vampire form and forgot the hybrid form that they were going to be using for most of the movie.
Because like so they've got normal form and they've got like fully transformed vampire form where it's like like sunken white skin and like completely morphed bone structure. That looks good. But this like half of the road, like middle of the road, like bone structure alter, and then just white and purple flesh. I hate it.
Story itself, we could basically summarize it as this: Michael Morbius is dying alongside his friend Lucian. They have the same rare blood disorder that I guess what it is that their blood just isn't.
They don't explain it.
It's something with
Like
their blood.
like all we know is that it makes them weak, and they should have been dead by now.
Yeah, so they're pretty much like dying, and they're trying to find a cure for themselves, as well as other people with their disease. And there's a young girl named Anna who Morbius is taking care of because he really wants to save her, but she falls off the face of the earth about 25 minutes into the movie, and we never see her again. Literally, the last thing we see of her is that Morbius puts her in a medically induced coma to stop her from having a seizure, and then she's gone. Despite her literally living in the facility where a lot of this movie takes place.
Yeah,
But
she's gone.
she's
Like,
just gone.
the plot completely forgets about her.
So anyway, so basically Morbius decides that he's going to synthesize black bat blood with human blood to potentially, do whatever to fix his thing, to fix his disease, and it works, but he turns into a vampire, and he's now consumed by this desire to drink blood. And Matt Smith's character was like, oh, like, this is such a cool idea. And Morbius is like, no, this is horrible. I want to eat people. And Lucian's like, I don't see a problem with that. I mean, like, if I have to eat people to live, I'll just fucking do that, bro. But he's like, bro, we're killing people. He's like, and that's my problem. How? And then we had this very weird semi-incel plot where Lucian just starts murdering people because he got cop blocked in a bar.
Not even a subplot. That was like a 3-minute divergence from the plot.
Except it's actually pretty critical to the plot because that's how the cops find out that Morbius isn't a serial killer.
Oh yeah, I forget.
The fact that he murders people because he got cop blocked is literally the reason the cops realize Morbius isn't murdering people. I would call that a subplot. So yeah, Lucian decides to kill people because he gets cop blocked, and Morbius is like, bro, no. And Lucian's like, bro, be more vampire like me. Let's just fucking kill people because,
no, that's
like,
too mean. That's too mean. We gotta be nice, Will.
Okay, let's not. Okay, to be fair though, it's not like Morbius was wrong as a doctor that took the Hippocratic Oath. It's understandable why he has reservations about literally consuming people to survive. It's just that Lucian is a fucking psychopath.
My problem is that that's his only character trait.
And
that's all he has in this plot.
See, my problem with Lucian being a psychopath is that it's not properly portrayed. The only thing that ever hints that Lucian could be a closet psychopath is when he's getting bullied. He hits a kid with his cane and knocks him the fuck out in one hit.
And also we have the obligatory Joker dancing to himself in the mirror scene.
I think that actually worked because Lucian is a fucking dork. He is a socially stunted psychopath that it makes perfect sense he would be dancing in the mirror thinking he's hot shit, considering this is probably going to be his first and only form of social interaction. That's exactly how I'd imagine an incel serial killer looking in the mirror when they think they're hot shit. It reminds me of Taxi Driver.
Yeah,
But
that probably
it's
probably makes sense since I brought up Joker.
you brought up Joker. It reminded me about how fucking Travis Bickle is in fucking Taxi Driver, and how he looks like a fucking dork whenever he's like unholstering his weapon in the mirror. He's like, hmm, and like, huh, and he's like pulling out his gun and shit, or he's like taking out his knife, and he looks like a fucking dork. That's what Matt Smith reminds me of. But at the same time, this movie is too shit to even ape that correctly.
Oh yeah, and can we talk about how the final fight lasts like 3 minutes?
The final fight was, I can control bats. Bats! And
That's Kamehameha.
and he literally just starts throwing bats at Lucian, and Lucian's just like, I guess I'll die then.
Even though, by all means, he could probably do the same thing.
Yeah, there's
too.
actually nothing indicating that Lucian couldn't just do the same.
Also, how many people's blood is in his system compared to Morbius?
That's the other thing. They've made it, they actually kind of imply that the more blood you consume, the more powerful you are as a vampire. And Morbius is only consuming like artificial blood, which is apparently not enough to satiate him. Meanwhile, Lucian is just killing random street vendors. Lucian, for all intents and purposes, should be physically stronger, which they do show, by the way. Like, he actually could just beat Morbius to death. It's very obvious that he could have beaten him to death, but didn't want to. But the other thing is that he should have been able to control the bats.
Yeah.
Because he's just a stronger, better vampire.
But no, Morbius at the end of the day was able to finally succumb to his urges, drink the blood of his romantic partner, and thus finally become the Batman that we all deserve.
Yeah. Yeah. Except, but wait, I can't even call it a it's like the early credits scene, because it's before we even get to like the mid credits. We get a scene where like we see Adrian Toomes get fucking yeeted from the MCU to the Sony universe. Lord knows why. But
I hate it so much.
But before I get to that point, we also see Martine, the love interest, come back to life. Which
he did make 3 serums, but
he's not going to kill her. And I know this is supposed to set up for the Morbius sequel, because in the comics, Martine is actually an undead vampire, and she becomes a villain, where she wants Morbius to die so he can be an undead vampire like she is, and they can live together romantically. So that's what they're going for, which is why it's a little bit disingenuous to call her the Fridge, because this is supposed to be her supervillain origin story.
Well,
but in all intents and purposes, it's still fridging her.
Well, I see. Okay, now that you said the whole thing, now I agree with you again, because taking that out of context, they still fridged her as far as fridging is concerned.
Oh yeah, by the way, for when we say fridge, this is in reference to a media trope called Women in Refrigerator, which was popularized after resident, jingoistic, rapist sociopath Major Force of DC Comics decided to murder Kyle Rayner, the Green Lantern's girlfriend, and shove her in a fridge for shock value. And it was so disgusting when it happened in the comics that the female writers in DC and other media were like, okay, this is fucking abhorrent. And it's basically in reference to the fact that women die as a means of motivating the male characters in their mediums. And they call women refrigerators because the most egregious example is Kyle Rayner's girlfriend getting fucking murdered and shoved in a refrigerator. And it was made even worse because it was revealed by the author that The entire purpose of introducing his girlfriend back in issue 1 was to kill her in that issue. She was created to die, which means that the trope was very much true. And unfortunately, it's something that still happens in a lot of media. And this movie is another example of it, where while yes, this is supposed to double as Martine's supervillain origin story, so it's supposed to subvert the fridging,
The plot
for the point of the plot, she dies for Morbius to become more powerful and strong enough to defeat, not just defeat Lucian, but also to stop Morbius from killing himself. As she said, please make this worth it, meaning he now has to honor her death wish by living and not committing suicide.
Yeah.
So for all intents and purposes, it's fridging, but somewhat subverted because it's supposed to be a supervillain origin.
Now, you brought it up. Gotta talk about it. Bringing the Vulture out of the MCU into the Sonyverse. Oh, this pisses me off.
So this movie, on its own, is pretty mediocre, and I was fine with rating it a 4 out of 10, but solely because of the end credit scenes, I have to drop this to a 2.5 out of 10.
No, I'm going 2.
Because
2.
I have to give it 2.5 out of 10 because the end credit scenes alone ruined this movie. And the problem is the end credit scene is basically, it ties into the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, which, if you don't know, spoilers for Spider-Man No Way Home, at the end of the movie, when Doctor Strange is returning all of the multiverse characters that came to the MCU that knew Peter Parker's identity, he somehow makes a mistake and sends the Vulture, the MCU Vulture, to the Sony universe. So he appears in a jail cell, and all the cops are like,
Who dis?
They're like, who the fuck is this? And he's like, I'm Adrian Toomes. They're like, okay, we don't know who the fuck you are, but you're not supposed to be in prison, so get out.
Pardon.
So get out. And so they let him out.
So that's the first post.
That's the first person.
So that made me mad because, one, why do that when you have like hints that he wanted to team up with Scorpion back in Homecoming? And so then we go 2 minutes later in the credits, we get our second post-credit scene where Vulture shows up in full Vulture armor and meets up with Michael Morbius to say, this has something to do with Spider-Man. I bet we could do some good in these parts.
Which is like dumb for a billion different reasons. And I want to go over some of them. One, why the fuck is some random white guy showing up in a prison, breaking news in New York City, and not the giant fucking void that appeared in the sky? Like, let it be known, in the Sonyverse, the only supernatural things that have existed so far is some weird black thing appearing in San Francisco that Gavin Newsom also decided to get rid of the death penalty to kill a serial killer randomly. That's the only weird shit that's happened in this universe so far. But, you know, random white guy named Adrian Toomes showed up in detention center. Breaking news, and not everything that we know about the universe is a fucking lie, because the sky literally cracked open and showed a purple-like void that very much should question everything we know about our universe and anything we have about religion or God or anything, because the sky fucking opened!
Actually, wait a minute. Now, this might be a problem in and of itself, which now brings up, like, continuity issues with Venom. Why did the Sonyverse and the MCU connect in the first place?
Well, that was the symbiote hive knowledge.
Oh, symbiote hive knowledge?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the reason why, and this is actually not bullshit, it's actually pretty cool, is that because Topher Grace's Venom in the Sam Raimi universe knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man, Eddie Brock's Venom knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man because they're all symbiotes within the multiverse.
Okay.
So that's the only reason why this is even happening. And also, you could even argue because Carnage knew, and Carnage is
a result of Venom.
Carnage is Venom's son,
But putting that aside, what is the logistical, like, nightmare of bringing the Vulture into this universe?
Okay, so I actually read the interviews that apparently the man did before the movie came out, revealing that Vulture came to the Sony universe before the movie even dropped. The director Daniel Espinosa, he basically said, well, the MCU didn't create the possibility of crossing over the multiverses. Sony did it. So, because Sony did it, we basically have the right to make it so that, it wasn't actually like a one-way street. It's like sometimes characters can go from Sony to MCU, and other times it can go MCU to Sony. And I know what you're thinking. That's fucking retarded. Because it is.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
Except fuck you. That's an amazing quote, and it's actually pretty fucking good. This was just dumb. It's just really fucking stupid. And yeah, no, this post-credit scene is absolute garbage. And now I have seen some theories that could redeem this post-credit scene. Which is that we all know Sony has been trying for the longest time to do a Sinister Six film. And we also know that Andrew Garfield is now really, really popular after No Way Home. So the current running theory is that the Vulture from the MCU is being brought over to the Sonyverse so him and Morbius could create their own Sinister Six with a couple other villains like Kraven the Hunter, who is getting his own movie, and a couple other villains who are probably getting their own projects, and they will come together and make the Sinister Six, and that the Vulture got his gear, and follow me on this one, from that display in Oscorp during the Amazing Spider-Man 2, when we saw that Vulture gear in that one dumbass scene which showed a bunch of villains that no one was asking for in this movie, they're saying it's that, and that is because apparently in the post-credits scene, the Vulture suit flies differently than the Vulture suit we saw in Homecoming, because this one has the thrusters in the wing, which is not how the Vulture suit flies.
This is so dumb. I hate
it's so
all
fucking
of this.
dumb. This movie's so fucking dumb. It's so dumb. It's so fucking stupid. Any justification for any part of this movie is absolutely brain dead and actively degrades the quality of an already dogshit movie. Like, any attempt to rectify any type of mistakes made in this movie just bring more questions as to how dumb are you people? Like, honestly, do you guys collectively have less chromosomes than the average person? Because how are you people making these plots, reading them over, and thinking they're somewhat coherent? Literal 5-year-olds could make things make more sense than this shit.
Honestly, the most I got out of this movie was the fact that the alcoholic drink tied to this movie was fucking fantastic.
Jesus fucking Christ. This movie was
that
a
is the
fucking joke.
I will say, that drink was spectacular.
I'm glad. My drink was actually pretty good too. But, oh my god, this movie's so fucking dumb. And honestly, I legitimately think that if this movie was just made in the MCU, it would have been much better, as it would have synthesized things a lot more.
Also, because it would have Kevin Feige peering over everyone's shoulder for every second of that goddamn production.
I don't even think...
You know for a fact that Marvel Studios wouldn't trust Sony with this project for a second if they were under their command.
Oh yeah, the director Daniel Espinosa also revealed, oh yeah, we didn't tell Kevin Feige we were taking the Keaton Vulture with us. So he didn't even sign off. He didn't even sign off on it before they already did it.
And now, because of Venom tying over to the MCU anyway, it sticks. It has to stay.
I
Can
mean,
Sony do this?
they technically own the rights to the character of the Vulture, so yes, they technically can.
This is so petty. Oh my god.
This is
This is extremely petty.
see. Sony single-handedly is degrading my leftist values in anti-monopoly laws because they are showing just how fucking dumb it is for people to not have proper creative control over their IPs because this shit's so fucking dumb. I cannot get over how fucking stupid this movie is. And I would only recommend you watch this movie if you want to see a masterclass in what a superhero movie looks like when it's completely railroaded by a pandemic, two movies that were better than it coming out before it, and an extensive amount of studio meddling. You get whatever the fuck this movie was.
Which is nothing. Nothing happened in this movie.
Except for the fact that Michael Keaton is no longer in the MCU, which is pretty much only given to you in the literal last 2 minutes of the movie after the credits have started rolling.
Yeah, again, this movie was so middle of the road, so boring, so average. I was like, you know what? I was expecting worse. And then this shit happens, and now I am mad.
It's just bad. And honestly, I've seen some people say, you know what, maybe we should just wait for Madam Web to fix this entire thing. Because that's the next spider-related multiverse thing that's coming out.
Okay.
Before...
Okay, multiverse thing. I was about to say, if this is the next thing in their lineup, this is like Flashpoint levels of rushing it.
Wait. Let me actually... Let me make sure it's not the next one, because I know that oh god. So Sony does have a bunch of they have a bunch of shit that they have coming up for Spider-Man.
Are they trying to make DC look palatable?
Yeah. So here's what Sony has coming down the pipeline. So they have Spider-Woman, but they're collaborating with Marvel Studios on that, so that's actually going to be good.
Thank God. Thank the Lord.
So we got that. So we have Kraven the Hunter, which...
I wish wasn't being controlled by MCU, because could be really cool.
It could be cool. And, oh yeah, I guess the next one is either Silk, which I don't know how the fuck that's going to work, considering Cindy Moon is already in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They introduced her in Homecoming. She's the Asian girl in Peter's class. This is going to be really weird when they start fucking, because that's kind of what happened when Silk and Spider-Man first met. They just started fucking because their pheromones were very, very high and compatible. Comic books are fucking weird, I understand, but yeah, so it's going to be on Amazon, so maybe we'll get Tom Holland we'll get Tom Holland dick. But yeah, it's either Silk or Madam Web.
This is Flashpoint level of rushing.
Oh wait, I forgot. We're gonna get Spider-Man freshman year, but that's being made under Marvel Studios, so it's probably gonna be decent.
That's gonna be MCU related.
So yeah, the only two MCU related Spider-Man things we're getting is freshman year and Spider-Woman. We got Kraven, which I don't have hope for anymore. We have Madam Web, which I never had hope for, and we have Silk, which I am hoping Marvel Studios can get some piece of their hand on, because they technically introduced her in Homecoming.
Yeah. Oh my god.
But this movie is a fucking joke. And the fact that we've been talking about it for about 45 minutes is a testament to just how dumb it is and how funny it is to make fun of it. And I told you guys last week that we were probably going to make fun of this movie this week because we didn't have much expectations for it. And honestly, it would have met above my expectations had it not been for the post-credit scene. I was fully willing to give it a 3 out of 10, but then the end credit scene had... So before the movie, I was going to give it a 3 out of 10. After the main plot happened, I was going to give it a 4 out of 10. After the end credit scene, I got to give it a 2.5 out of 10 because it's just fucking terrible.
Yeah. So congratulations, Morbius. You get our first below 5 out of 10 on this channel.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's gonna be so sad because next week we're gonna be reviewing the Sonic movie, and I guarantee you, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is going to be a better, more entertaining, more cohesive story than whatever the fuck this was. And I swear to God, I think that movie's still gonna have Sonic flossing. So, yeah.
Let's continue talking about something a little more optimistic.
So, going from one shitty Marvel thing to one that's actually good, let's talk about Moon Knight episode 2.
So this one definitely is a step up, I would say.
Oh, definitely a step up. For one, Steven is starting to grow more of a backbone and become less of a passive character, which I really like.
One thing that I actually like the most is that they're expanding Arthur Harrow's character quite a bit. One thing I'm glad they're not doing is making it to maybe I can align with his morals. No, they straight up say no, this is a bad dude.
Yeah, literally, in the show, they're like, he's like, so you guys are okay with killing children? And they're just stone-faced just looking at him, not denying the fact that he's accusing them of killing children. And when he's confirming the idea that these people probably are okay with killing children, they once again do not deny the fact that they're okay with killing children, thus proving, oh yeah, they're the fucking bad guys. They kill children.
Oh yeah, and they pretty much do the whole thing where they this village used to be ridden with crime, but now everybody's equal. Disease has been cured, and everybody is prosperous. And I'm like, oh god, they're gonna make him seem sympathetic. But thankfully, they didn't do that.
And just so you didn't understand that he's a bad guy, he also just kills a random homeless person, just for shits and giggles. Just for shits and giggles, he kills a random homeless.
It wasn't even under the judgment of Ahmed either.
He was just you saw this gold scarab.
Prepare to die.
Just die.
He just walks up and hey, that belongs to me. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Yeah. And so basically we basically learn what the bad guy's whole evil plot is, and basically it's Minority Report. It's literal thought crimes. It's literal, we are going to get you because you thought about a bad thing, thus you must die. So it's literal Minority Report predicting crime before it happens. We're going to murder you for thought crimes, which, pretty good. I was not expecting to go in this direction.
But another thing I do want to compliment is the fact that there's an internal struggle between Mark and Khonshu.
Yeah, oh yeah, there is an internal struggle between Mark and Khonshu, and now Steven and Khonshu as well.
Yeah, because, of course, Khonshu wants, as his next avatar, to take over, what's her name? Layla, yeah. And obviously Mark wants nothing like that to happen.
Yeah.
So it's good to know that Mark doesn't fully align with him.
Mm-hmm.
Because, of course, we've seen villains that exude their own justice, and I feel like Khonshu is the same, but has more of a good bent, but not completely.
So in my opinion, Khonshu, I think Khonshu, like Lucian, is just a fucking psychopath that likes killing people. Because Steven is trying to have a pleasant conversation with Arthur Harrow's character. He's like, break his windpipe! Kill him now! It's like, bro! They're just talking! And he's coming up and he's like, break his windpipe! You're like, bro, what the fuck? Yeah. So I think Khonshu's just a fucking psycho. He's like, I have my own sense of justice.
And remember, Amit is the one they banished. Imagine how much of a psycho that Amit is.
See, that's the thing. Ahmet is a psycho because she wants to do thought crimes. Khonshu is a psycho because he just likes fucking killing people. And then we have Bast, who we just only know she's responsible for the Black Panther. So she's probably fucking crazy too, and we'll find that out in Wakanda Forever.
If that movie decides to be good.
Yeah, they finished filming according to Anthony Mackie, and since Anthony Mackie's the one saying it, now I'm assuming Captain America's going to show up in this. Which now I'm wondering, is this just going to be Black people event? Is this going to be Black people Endgame? Because so far, every black character that I know of is in this movie. I've heard War Machine's in the movie. I've heard Riri Williams is in the movie. I've heard Captain America's in this movie. Is it literally just, you're black, you're in the movie?
Honestly, I feel like they're just scraping for this movie to be good because of everything that we've heard behind the scenes.
Yeah, but...
Which, I mean, if they have all those characters and pull it off, cool. But anyway, I don't want to.
Before we get into why we're not looking forward to Black Panther 2, let's get back to the fact that Khonshu is most definitely a fucking psycho because of how he's just casually just lording over Steven, basically trying to say, please kill these people. Kill them, please.
Yeah.
I want you to kill them.
Because Khonshu's mode of justice is not something that, of course, Steven agrees with at all either.
Yeah, Khonshu's mode of justice is more along the line of how police officers work, in the sense that you've committed a crime, die.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is.
And also, I'm proud of this movie for not,
Movie.
Show, sorry. Morbius on the line. I'm proud of this show for also showing that Mark isn't that, truly justified of a person either.
Yeah, he murdered a bunch of archaeologists execution style for what?
The Scarab.
Which also, I am also convinced Layla did that too.
Yeah.
So let it be known that despite Morbius being the advertised anti-hero, Mark Spector murdered innocent people. And to our knowledge, did so before coming under the possession of the psychopath god.
Unironically, I think that the Punisher has more of an honor system compared to Moon Knight.
Well, I mean, you did see the comic panel. Still, he's like, still talking to that god in your head? Yeah, still thinking about your dead family? I cannot wait for Oscar Isaac's Moon Knight and John Bernthal's Punisher to meet in a crossover, because I want that scene replicated. I want one of them to bring up, you still talk to this crazy god? He's like, you still think about your dead family? With the implication that they both think the other's pathetic for doing so. But, oh my god, yeah, no, Mark is fucking evil. He's a mercenary for hire with at least money in both Chinese. It's not yen. What's Chinese currency?
I don't know. I'm American. I don't care about this stuff.
He has Chinese currency, and he also has American currency, and he has a passport, which is not evil, but it's with all the money and the loaded weapons in a storage locker that also has a bunch of military-grade weapon in it, which I now have to wonder, how in the ever-loving fuck did he get all those guns into a London storage locker? The police don't have that many guns! This show is actually... See, the difference between me talking about the ridiculousness in Moon Knight and Morbius is that in Moon Knight, it's just fucking comical, while in Morbius, it's comically stupid.
Yeah, not even comical. It all makes sense according to the plot that it's set up. Angry Egyptian god, chaos ensues.
Yeah, Egyptian psycho god wants you to kill people. Ward 11.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Mark is a fucking dick to say the least. When Steven was just like, I want my body back, Mark decides, I'm gonna smash the metaphorical figure of your face. And starts kicking the glass over and over. Which in my head means is that if Steven was a living, breathing person right there, he'd stomp the life out of him like a teenager would stomp the life out of a turtle.
Yeah. I I also loved how like how much confidence um Steven got after summoning Mr. Knight.
Oh yeah, the
Which
fact that Mr. Knight is just Steven wearing the Moon Knight costume instead of Mark is amazing.
which does that imply like that Moon Knight is not a different persona?
I think this now confirms that Moon Knight is not an alter, and that there really is just two alters, and it's just Stephen Grant and Mark Spector.
Because for for all we know, of course Steven keeps his personality and his abilities and his reaction time and all that in the Mr. Knight costume. But we have nothing to the contrary to say about Mark Spector and Moon Knight.
I think
Because at the end of the day, like Mark is still a mercenary that should not be trifled with.
yeah,
So I'm sure he can do his own thing without even summoning the suit to begin with.
I'm imagining that's how he killed the lots of people he killed in episode 1.
That's exactly what's going in my mind.
Yeah, so I do think Moon Knight is not an alter. I think Moon Knight is just Mark
Which
getting the power of Khonshu versus Mr. Knight being what Steven gets when he gets the power of Khonshu. Because they both have superhuman strength, considering Steven literally ripped the bumper off of a car. So, yeah.
which also it also implied that he could either that he could make his own costume or the costume adjusts to their personalities.
I think it's that he made his own costume because he
Yeah.
said she kept saying suit, so suit, and it's
Yeah.
an actual suit.
So
Meanwhile, Mark is like, you are disgracing the ceremonial garbs of Khonshu. But I mean, Khonshu doesn't seem to mind.
yeah.
Also, I do like that they have different weapons. Mark has the moonarangs, but fucking Mr. Knight has tonfas,
Yeah.
which I don't know what tonfas have to do with Egypt. Tonfas are Chinese weapons, but okay.
I mean that's fine. I mean the only other character in public knowledge that uses those kinds of weapons is Knight.
Yeah,
So it's new. I'll take it.
yeah. But I'm also just wondering why does Steven get it?
Then
Like,
again, what weapon can Steven use? Let's be honest here.
I mean, he did have that real solid right hook. Oh yeah, it is absolutely hilarious how he's fighting this jackal and no one can see the jackal, and they're just like, "Is he having a seizure?" No, I think he's just a well-dressed drunk.
But it's also funny that they can see the costume.
Yes, they can see the costume, but then I think everyone realized, oh no, this is actually a super powered person because they literally watched him go, and then just turn into Moon Knight, and they're like, oh. And then also, he punched something invisible and it cracked the windshield of a car.
Oh God. Oh, now my mind has floated to superhero insurance and how that's definitely a thing in the MCU.
It needs to be.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Back in 2008, Obadiah Stane literally tried to murder a soccer mom and her kids in a minivan. Like, I think that should be the quintessential case for we need superhero insurance. Which also means superhero insurance is not in your medical insurance, which definitely means there are Uber drivers that currently don't get superhero insurance, meaning they have to pay for shit when fucking Captain America comes and fucking throws their car.
But because a lot of things get damaged in this episode.
Yeah, also they were like,
Multiple cars and buses, multiple like
The fucking bathroom in the museum, which, now that I think about it, what does that look like to someone that isn't Mark? So, like, we see him beat the shit out of the jackal and it destroys the bathroom. But if you're just a random person, does it just look like he's punching sinks until they break? Does it look like he just punches the sink and then all the water spurts out? Oh yeah. Also, they fired Steven, which I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you, I am surprised they didn't arrest him. But then again, they did look at him and think, this nigga's fucking insane. He's better off in a psych ward than prison.
Yeah.
But it is really good. One thing I really liked is how Steven calls Mark handsome, despite the fact that they quite literally look identical, and that's because Mark is more confident than Steven, and confidence is thus more attractive. So despite them literally being the same person, looking identical, like, it's very telling about their mentality. Also, do you think there's going to be a love triangle between Steven, Mark, and Layla?
Nah. With the fact that we've only got 6 episodes, I don't think they've got room to put that in there. And also, just I hope they don't, because I do like how like Marvel has started to stray away a little bit from romance plots, especially
Yeah.
with Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
So I hope not. I hope romance isn't an element in this at all. Like maybe Mark and Layla repair their relationship. I'll accept that.
Yeah.
But
But see, the
involving Steven.
But see, the thing is I don't think Steven's going away by the end of this.
Oh,
I
I don't think so either.
Which, I mean, let's be perfectly honest here. The reason why I think they're probably going to have some form of a love triangle is because I think Layla's going to fall in love with both of them. Because I think Steven is an alter that represents the trauma that Mark has at when he first lost Layla, when he became Khonshu's avatar. As for people with DID, their alters usually are a manifestation of severe trauma they've had. And we know this is how it works in at least the MCU via Mary Walker in Iron Fist, where she mentions that she has her alters because of what she experienced in Sokovia when she was Special Forces and was captured. Her various alters between regular Mary, Bloody Mary, and Typhoid Mary. With her Typhoid Mary being the representation of the trauma that she felt by being tortured, and thus the subsequent anger and rage she had for when she murdered her torturers in Sokovia. So I think that's how the alters work for characters in the MCU, and I think it's going to be where Layla comes to love both sides of Moon Knight. And I think it's going to be a bit of a Miracle Man, which I don't know if you know anything about Miracle Man.
No.
But Miracle Man, he's a ripoff of a ripoff. So basically, you know how there's Superman?
Yeah.
And you know how there's Captain Marvel Shazam?
Yeah.
Well, to capitalize on the success that Captain Marvel had over Superman, they created Marvel Man to be instead of Captain Marvel. But then they changed his name to Miracle Man later on. And then Alan Moore did a reboot of him, where basically Miracle Man is like an alter, kind of the guy. And he ends up in a love triangle with Miracle Man, and the guy and his wife end up in a love triangle. And the wife prefers to be with the Miracle Man than with her actual husband. And well, this is Alan Moore, and Alan Moore and women and sex are not good when put together. I think they could pull something like that off in Moon Knight and make it not fucking weird.
Yeah. If they include romance in this, it probably will take a massive, sideline to the major plot.
I think the romance in this will be the repairing of Mark and Layla's marriage.
At the very least.
Because, and also, I firmly believe as well that Layla is also going to be, more of his partner by the end of this, where, Yes, it was implied that they're partners, but
And
now like they're gonna be like true partners.
and
Like he's no longer gonna keep secrets from her.
and oh my god, at the amount of whiplash I felt from a female character having agency since watching Morbius.
Oh, I know. Seriously, the difference between Layla and Martine are night and day. Like
like
Layla,
like
like
Mark.
Layla just lives her life and is just an active person.
Meanwhile, Martine literally has no agency in her movie whatsoever. Goddamn ever.
Literally,
Honestly,
it's just shit
her
happens to her.
her character feels like it was written in the 90s. I swear to
Yeah, I mean, it's literally just shit happens to Martine, and that's her. That's the extent of her in the plot. Versus Layla, where it's like, well, Layla runs into Mark, and she's like, "Dude, what the fuck? We're married, and I haven't heard from you in months. Are you divorcing me or not?" And then, oh yeah, Layla tracks Mark down to Arthur Harrow's place and is like, I have the scarab. Mark, please turn into Moon Knight and kill these people so we don't fucking die.
And also, she legitimately kicks some ass in that scene.
Yeah, and also, she's currently the only person that knows for a fact that Arthur Harrow has the scarab as she witnessed it.
Yeah.
God, it's so refreshing to see a female character actually just do things and one, it be in service of the plot, but two, not work to be in service of only the male character.
Yeah, because for a good chunk of this episode, she kind of carries the flow of the plot.
Yeah.
Not like carry it in the way like, oh, her character has the most agency. Like, no, her actions legitimately like influence a good chunk of the plot.
Yeah. Also, it should be really interesting in seeing her relationship with Khonshu and why Khonshu wants her to be
Yeah.
his avatar and not Mark.
Yeah, I do kind of want the show to explore that because I don't want her to be like the sideline female character like Martine.
Yeah. I think it's going to be very much showing that when they got to the temple, um, Mark saw something, there's like a fight, he gets shot, he dies, Khonshu saves him, but Khonshu was originally going to pick um, Layla, but Mark intervenes because of maybe he saw something that maybe he saw that Layla was going to get chosen, and he saw what being an avatar of Khonshu actually means. So then, like, he tries to stop her, but then fight breaks out. He gets shot, and he's dying, but he does the thing, so Khonshu chooses him instead.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, like the show also implies that um, Layla is familiar with how it works.
Yeah.
Like she's seen it multiple times.
She's seen Moon Knight enough to know that he can handle shit.
Yeah, and also she knows you need to summon the goddamn suit right now.
Yeah. So, yeah, it should be really interesting. I'm really excited. I would rank this episode a 7 out of 10.
Same here.
It was pretty good. Just overall, we're getting a lot more plot development. We end with Mark ending up in Egypt. But I do find it interesting that we see Stephen in the reflection with blood on his hands, meaning this was not a bloodless journey from London to Egypt. He definitely was killing people along the way.
Yeah.
And, I was really happy because, when they were showing the panning shot of Mark's room and they showed his bed, I was really afraid they were just going to show some random woman in it to be like, oh yeah, Mark is the sexy womanizer. But they didn't. And it actually just shows him like sitting on the ground, just kind of staring vacantly, more to show that he's just a broken man that probably needs his wife to help complete him.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like these two are, the couple goals. We kill people together, we summon ancient Egyptian gods together, we do everything together. Still can't get over the fact that those two definitely murdered a bunch of innocent people.
Couple goals.
It reminds me of the fucking meme where it's like a couple where it's just like, I love you so much, I love you too, dear. And then it's like one guy shows up off screen and they both look at him. And the next scene is literally the woman digging the hole and the guy dragging a bloody bag, which is the guy that saw them. And it's like, couple goals. Oh my god. But this episode was really good. And Yeah, I'm really excited for next week. It's going to be really cool. So far, the show is moving at a pretty good pace, and I think it may actually stick the 6 episodes potentially. And I think in part this is because they're working with a non existent villain, meaning that they can tailor the villain to work for however long,
And also,
unlike
like
Kingpin.
these episodes are pretty long.
Yeah,
They're like 50 minutes each. And because typically the pilot's 45 minutes to 50 minutes for a Marvel show, and then it continues to diminish to be around 30 to 37 minutes. But here, it's actually going up in a minute count.
yeah, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just some other media things that wanted to bring up. One, if you know, which if you're a fan of this podcast, you should know, I'm a massive fan of this show, Young Justice, and one, new episode coming out tomorrow, hype. But two, they just announced a spin-off comic that will be tying into the continuity of the show that will be coming out. It is apparently going to be handling the events after season 4 with some flashbacks to events that took place between seasons 2 and 3, as well as. Was there a time skip between season 3 and 4? There was a bit of a time skip between season 3 and 4.
You'd be the only one to know.
So they'll be handling stuff like that, and it's really hype. And if you know about Young Justice and you love it, I highly recommend that you support the series by getting these comics, because Young Justice is amazing. In my opinion, it's probably some of the best content that DC is putting out, and I really want to see it continue because I was devastated when it was canceled back when I was fucking 12, and I'm now 23, and I don't want this to get canceled again. This is probably the best thing about DC. So please support the comics when it come out, and please watch it when it comes out on HBO Max or whatever you watch it on. Just make sure this show gets renewed for season 5. I need to see the ending of this show. That is all.
All right.
Any other media things that have come up that you may have missed?
Not really. Just still depressed about Stone Ocean.
Still depressed about Stone Ocean. Oh yeah, Darkrai came out in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and it is currently dog shit in Ubers because Dark Void is still dog shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Darkrai can't do shit. It's a fast dark type that just is it. It's a fast dark type. Too fast and too powerful for overused, but absolute dog shit in everywhere else because everything else can just one-shot it because it's frail as fuck.
Just make Uber's BL.
Stop it! No! Uber's BL is literally just OU with all the things they just banned from OU.
Exactly.
That defeats the point of OU or any bans from it. I mean, if you do make an OUBL, it couldn't be a playable tier. It would just have to be, you are technically Ubers, but not by usage, but because you're banned. Which at that point is still no different from what we actually fucking have. So yeah, Darkrai sucks. RIP.
Massively.
Yeah, unfortunate. We'll see what happens in Gen 9.
And we still have Extreme Killer.
Yeah. But in fact, Arceus Ghost is the most powerful one right now because nothing stops it.
Yeah, we don't have Spectrier, we don't have Lunala.
See, you're assuming that was what was going to stop it, and not just be another group of victims. No, ghost types are just really broken this gen. Gengar got banned from BDSPOU.
Oh yeah, because of Curse Body. Or wait, is it Curse Body or no? Shadow Tag is the Mega.
No, it's not because of Curse Body. It's because what stops a nasty plotting Gengar in a meta without Pursuit?
Oh right, we don't have Pursuit anymore.
And also, since it's Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, there's no faster ghost types like Spectrier or Dragapult or anything.
Oh.
And also, there are no dark types like Mandibuzz. It's just Tyranitar with no Pursuit, and Gengar's faster, and has Focus Blast.
Oh.
Yeah, they banned it. So, yeah, that sucks. Rip Darkrai. But good job, Gengar, getting banned. Second time.
All right.
Anyway, so I think with that, we now can move on to our politics segments.
Which a bit of positive news here and there.
So, which one do you want to start with?
Let's start with Amazon.
So, yes, we have a massive W in workers' rights, historic moment. So,
We finally have our first union formed in an Amazon based
warehouse. Or like I call them, sweatshops, because that's what they are.
They are, yes.
So, in Staten Island, the forgotten borough of New York City, they actually were able to unionize their first Amazon warehouse, which is amazing because, as we knew back when it was happening in, I believe it was Alabama, right?
Yeah.
Amazon fought tooth and nail to shut down any unionization efforts.
I mean,
they were running so many anti-union ads.
I mean, they literally altered the traffic lights in order to make sure people don't get stopped by people who want other like workers to form a union.
Yeah, that's fucking, first of all, that goes to show just how powerful of an organization, powerful of a corporation Amazon is, and how powerful Jeff Bezos is. The fact that he was able to get the city to change how the fucking stoplights work to make sure that traffic would flow in a certain way that would disincentivize people from meeting together to have unionization meetings is fucking insane, and a drastically massive overreach in what should be capable from a private entity, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
we finally have our W.
Yes. The first Amazon warehouse has now been unionized, and let us hope that this is signs for things to come, and we get more unions for Amazon warehouses, and broadly getting more unions in other places like Starbucks, which has also been having its own massive fight for unionization, and its CEO fighting against it as well.
But if you understand the backstory behind the guy who organized this, it's actually even more gratifying.
You want to talk about it?
Yeah, remember the guy that behind closed doors, Amazon like figureheads called dumb and what was it? Dumb and inarticulate. Remember the guy they were talking about there in the Amazon meetings?
Which one?
I'm about to bring it up. I'm not going to spoil it.
Okay, go for it.
But you know what? You remember that story, right?
Yeah.
That was the guy that organized this union.
Ah!
Yeah, that was him. That was Christian Smalls.
Yeah, and also Christian Smalls is a black man, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so calling him dumb and inarticulate was also pretty fucking racist.
Yes, exactly. So this man was able to fight back and just clap the cheeks of the Amazon figureheads.
Yes, and this is great because, as you know here, we are huge proponents of worker rights and worker organization, and unions is one step in making sure that workers are protected from the harmful and very predatory practices that their jobs try to put them in. I mean, you've heard the horror stories of what happens in Amazon warehouses, from the piss bottles, from pooping in the fucking like warehouse area because you cannot afford to go use the bathroom, to people literally dropping dead and managers telling you to step over their bodies and get back to work. It's a fucking sweatshop. It is a modern day sweatshop, and I am not afraid to call it that because that's what it is. And so it is absolutely imperative that workers get protections against this bullshit. Yeah. It's abuse.
So let's hope that these motivations actually stop workers from dying in tornadoes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right. I completely forgot about the fact that a tornado tore a building in half and just killed a bunch of people.
And we covered it.
Yeah, we did cover it, too.
Yeah.
God, I fucking hate Amazon.
Yep. And unfortunately, they take up a more than comfortable percentage of our economy.
Unfortunately. Man, remember when Amazon was just fucking books?
And guess what? We're using an Amazon software right now. So let's just say a giant fuck you to Amazon right now.
Fuck you, Bezos, and fuck your penis rockets. Also, fuck you. I'm glad your wife took half of your money, you fucking prick. But I'm really happy about that because especially in the post-COVID area where we've become more aware than ever about just how much bullshit our jobs put us through needlessly and how much value we actually have as workers in a collective, I think it's very important that we are getting more and more people to understand the importance of unionization, because unionization used to be very big in this country until, the capital bourgeois decided we're just going to completely railroad everything about unionization, demonize it, make it seem like it's fucking horrible, and make the only union we actually support be the police union, which is the one union we don't fucking need.
Yeah, because at this point, the only sustainable like workers' unions are like unions for coal miners, and like
And that's mainly just a legacy of the fact that that's where it fucking began.
yeah, like you will be hard pressed to find any coal miners who want to get rid of their goddamn unions right now.
Yeah, but the problem with that is that the other side of the coin with unions is that unions are still very racialized.
Oh yeah, because if you forget about the origin of unions in America, they actually wouldn't let African Americans into white centric unions.
Which worked pretty much in the favor of the bourgeois capitalists, because they were like, hey, black people, that union thinks you're subhuman trash. Not like us. We'll give you a job, paying you less than what the white people we hired will be getting, but you'll still be hired because fuck that union that calls you the N-word.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I can't blame any African American for siding with the corporations, because why would you debase and subject yourself to being in the company of bigoted people that don't see you as human, when you very much could be working and making a living and trying to at least help yourself and your family, regardless of the fact that it's coming from a bunch of bourgeois capitalists that definitely also don't see you as a person.
And also, that element of work culture hasn't even been amended yet.
Oh, it has not been in slightest. I mean, you heard the study about the one of the top three most said words in like construction yards.
Oh yeah, I think I've heard that.
Yeah, the N word with the hard R is like top three. Like, and reminder, construction jobs and jobs like those are ones that are more likely to be unionized, because they are the backbone of what unionization efforts were like in America. They were the ones that were really rising up, because, these people were literally fucking dying doing these jobs, and their families were like, well, we lost our only source of income because my husband died in a fucking cave-in, or he got black lung and died, which is fucking horrible. So obviously, those jobs were the beginnings of unions, but because it was also in a very racist time period, not to say this isn't a racist time period, but a more racist time period, it made unionization difficult to be a total working class thing. And it still is today, which is really unfortunate. But seeing a black man unionize in unionize against Amazon in what most assuredly is going to be a multiracial, multicultural union is definitely a step in the right direction. For one, bringing back unions into the public zeitgeist, and two, righting the wrongs of what was racialized unions and completely stratifying the working class along racial and ethnic lines.
Yeah, because ultimately, what brought people together back in the 60s was class solidarity.
Yeah, well, 60s.
Wasn't that okay? Maybe I need to refresh on.
You gotta remember who the hippies are. The hippies are our current boomers. That was not class solidarity in the fucking slightest.
Maybe I gotta brush up on my civil rights history.
Yeah.
It was the main focus of
the civil rights movement, if you want to focus on that.
That's what I was focusing on.
Yeah, the civil rights movement. Oh, absolutely. It was class solidarity.
That's what brought them together. That's what I was referencing.
Yeah, it's class solidarity. I mean, Martin Luther King, when he was murdered in Memphis, Tennessee, it was right before he was going to give a speech at a sanitation union.
Yeah.
So, yeah, during the civil rights era, yeah, working class solidarity was a massive reason as to why civil rights also worked. And then, unfortunately, with the deaths of JFK, RFK, and MLK, it all went down the shitter, because then we had a bunch of entitled white kids known as hippies come around and protest the Vietnam War, rightly, but then as soon as they came to age and got all their mommy and daddy's money, they turned right back around and fucked us all collectively in the ass.
Yeah.
Fuck hippies.
Yeah. If you want more information, read Generation of Sociopaths. It covers that topic really well.
Exactly. Another great show. A good show that actually deals with that is, oh my God, I'm forgetting the name. It starts with an M. It used to come on Nickelodeon. It was in the late 90s. It ended right when I was born, but
No.
no. It's about a girl. It's not Mallory. It's, oh my fucking God. I think it's the World Accord. Is it the World? Oh my God, I'm gonna look it up later, but it's a really good show. Came out in the 90s, was really well beloved, but it also dealt with that 90s, with how like 90s kids slowly became disaffected with their parents who were the boomers at the time, who had just now started to have children, and seeing how their boomer parents were the most status quo fucking parents since the fucking 50s.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But overall, positive vibes here.
Yeah, really happy for this union. Really fucking hoping that it's the beginning of more to come and that we get more massive unionizations, not just in Amazon, but in Starbucks and in many other fields. One thing I really want to see unionization is in ride shares, whether it's via Uber or Lyft or DoorDash or whoever. These people need to get fucking unionized. I
Because
guarantee it.
Because these companies have already made their money. It's time to give these workers rights.
Yeah, these people should have been rights, especially with the current gig economy, which has just been so ripe with abuse.
Yeah.
That we definitely need to make sure that these people get unionized. So I really hope that this is the beginning of more to come.
Right, exactly. So, moving on from there, what should our next topic
So are we talking about student loans? Are we talking about Supreme Court? Or are we talking about the fetuses?
Oh God, you really want to talk about those, don't you?
We'll save the fetuses for last.
Okay. Let's talk about student loans because this, while good, and I have a lot to praise about this, I feel very cynical about.
So if you don't know, I believe it was yesterday.
Yes.
It was yesterday Biden announced that he was extending the already extended moratorium on student loan payments till August.
Till August 31st.
Till August 31st, which for one, thank the fucking Lord! I can't afford to pay my student loans right now. I'm broke as shit. Don't make me start paying them, please.
While that is true, and I also appreciate that because I also have student loans to pay, I feel very cynical about this because I see this happening again, and we're not going to see them actually give like student debt relief. This is
Yeah.
just them kicking the can constantly until the midterms pass, and then ultimately when they lose, they're not going to care.
Yeah, that is.
Because what makes me cynical is I see the end game of this path. I
Yeah.
see the end of the road, and I do not like it.
Eh,
Ultimately,
yeah.
this is a positive thing, but to what end? What relief are we going to get when the midterms hit and the objective of making Zoomers happy is met?
Yeah.
Like, ultimately, this is not enough to carry them through the midterms. This is just something that might boost their votes like 2%.
Yeah.
While that 2% might be important, and I am super grateful for these extensions, and as I assume everyone in our generation should be, this is some bullshit.
Yeah. So I agree pretty much with everything that Sovereign has to say. While I am definitely very thankful for not having to pay my student loans, and definitely a lot of people in our generation are pretty happy not having to pay their student loans yet, it is pretty telling that all we're doing is just kicking the can down the road and not actually getting a student loan debt relief, which while a lot of people say, oh, Biden can't do that, has to go through Congress, I'm now really starting to doubt that's something that he couldn't just executive order. And I do understand that he doesn't want to executive order it because then that gives a precedent for a future president to come by and reverse set of executive order. But at this stage in the game, you have 2 years before you have to worry about that again. Do it now. Do it now because that will ensure that you will probably get 4 more years, which then can allow you to fight to make it law. So then, even if the executive order is repealed, there's a law on the books.
If the Biden administration has any ability to stay in power, I mean, let's just face it, just the confidence in the Biden admin, or even, oh my God, Captain Marvel's ruining my brain here. If Kamala Harris can carry that legacy, I'm sorry for sounding like a conservative. We've been talking about Marvel for too goddamn long.
Yes.
If Kamala Harris can carry that legacy, or I'm very doubtful that she can. I am
Yeah.
extremely doubtful that this administration is going to last past like any of this.
Yeah. I don't know, really. I really don't know.
Like, I feel like they're only doing this to like salvage their admin as much as they can for the midterms, and we just happen to be the benefactors of it. Wow,
Yeah.
that's great, and I'll gladly like reap the benefits of it. This is not comforting in the slightest.
Yeah. It's definitely the right thing being done for the wrong reasons.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is the definition of, oh, like, this is good, but when you think about it, you're just like, but am I getting this because they actually
Care?
care, or are they doing this as, a political stunt? And Sovereign, when we talked about this off stream, he called it a virtue signal, and I'm still very hesitant to call it a virtue signal, as a virtue signal basically involves no action being made, and this is at least an action being made with tangible effects.
Yeah. With
So I would
the
hesitate to call it a virtue signal.
well, that's in relation to, of course, the action that we want done, which is, of course, relief of probably 10 grand, considering like the amount of faith we have in this administration.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
which is
even 10 grand would help out a lot of people.
oh
Don't get
yeah,
me wrong. Like, I mean, some people are floating 50,000 to 30,000, which stretches the feasibility of this admin accomplishing that because I have little to no faith in Biden's admin at all.
yeah, same.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we'll see.
Well, thanks, Biden, but good luck getting a majority of our generation to vote still.
Yeah,
Yeah, and also we don't educate our population enough to think past the gas prices in order, like relation to voting. So
yeah.
yeah, we done fucked up educating our population.
Yeah, it's a real shame that the Democrats have not been using the rising tide of fascism to be screaming from the fucking rooftops about how we need to maintain the momentum that we had back in 2020.
But especially because like with tuition going and like inflating and housing and healthcare, nobody bats an eye. But as soon as one measly little gas price goes up, all of a sudden everybody loses their minds.
Yep, pretty much. Pretty much. But
I said that joke to my significant other last week, and she absolutely loved it.
yep. Oh my god, but I really hope. I mean, I think in part of the reason why we haven't been seeing a big outpouring about how we need to stop this rising tide of fascism is because of the current Justice Department led by Merrick Garland being so piss poor about actually prosecuting people affiliated with January 6th. Like this should be like a mini Nuremberg trials. Like this should be fucking plastered everywhere. We should be seeing these fucking traitors be fucking lambasted and dragged through committee after committee for why they let such an abhorrent thing happen.
I mean, hell.
Yet we're not. And that is directly, in my opinion, influencing people's ability to care about what's happening in the government beyond the gas prices and seeing that, oh, if things go south this midterms, you will have more to worry about than your fucking gas prices, which, by the way, are not a result of the Democrats. It's actually supposed to be doing with, I believe, the worldwide supply chains, and now also a fucking war happening in Eastern Europe.
And that's not even the biggest influence. The biggest influence is like the companies taking advantage of the instability. Like I guarantee you that like while Ukraine does supply a lot of like oil to us, the economy will function just fine without Ukraine.
Yeah, it's mainly because it's Ukraine and Russia, both of them having vast reserves of natural gas and oil and all that different stuff. But I also firmly believe that gas prices shouldn't be this high. I mean,
Like,
I know it's different from when Crimea got annexed because gas prices did rise when Crimea got annexed, and this is obviously way worse, so gas prices would rise a bit higher. But I am pretty skeptical about how high this should actually be.
yeah, exactly.
Like
Especially
going
for,
into going over like $3, getting like high maybe 350,
well,
three
in
sixty.
our state, we're actually on the generous end of the gas prices.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Three, like going over 350, 360. I think that would have made sense, but we're getting $4, like $4.20. Like I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is a bit of greed going on somewhere.
Yeah,
And let it
exactly.
be known that the gas industry is no stranger to lying and completely just shitting on our fucking
And not
public.
even just the gas industry. Have you heard about how many people are complaining about like grocery inflation? Like this is
Yeah,
a phenomenon happening in all different industries.
yeah. Well, yeah, but that also has to do with the global supply chain, which has still been thoroughly fucked by COVID, which,
Yeah.
by the way, is still a thing.
Yes.
So, yeah, welcome to the post-apocalypse. It's a lot more boring than you thought it was, and a lot more just frustrating.
I was expecting to at least like have an epic battle and grow closer with my friends and family. Be an epic journey throughout the Midwest as I don't know, cinematography, blah blah blah, sound design. You can put it all together.
But no, it's
It,
just
it, it turns out the post-apocalypse is actually pretty boring.
yeah, it turns out it's just us yelling
It's
into a fucking laptop microphone.
literally it's just late-stage
Which I
capitalism.
mean, we were told that was supposed to be the post-apocalypse. Marx was telling us that, but he never did. Marx did not say that it was going to be, fun or interesting. He never did say it was supposed to be interesting. We kind of just extrapolated. Maybe it was boring in his mind too.
Yeah.
Oh well. Moving on. Our next topic, we want to talk about the fact that Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, most assuredly at this point, will be nominated and brought to the Supreme Court, as I believe set, yeah, Senator Susan Collins and Mitt Romney, who are both Republicans, have both said that they will be siding with the Democrats in having Ketanji Brown Jackson be nominated to Supreme Court. They have both reviewed her and said that they believe she's more than qualified. And let's be honest here, most Republicans know she's qualified, considering a bunch of them that are currently denying her Supreme Court had already voted for her to be an appellate court's judge, and were all singing her praises back when they thought it didn't matter whether they voted for her or not, so they were allowed to be honest.
Yeah. And guess what? Because of this, our two favorite fuckwads can't mess this up for us.
Yes. Thank the fucking Lord. But I think for once, Manchin and Sinema are on board with the Democrats and putting her on.
Yeah, they kind of have to.
Yeah, they kind
So,
of.
but thankfully, we have this giant foundation in front of us to reassure that this tower does not fall before our feet.
Yes. Now, if only Clarence Thomas wasn't
Uh,
there. But at least,
like we
at
have,
least for
like we
now.
have a giant corruption charge against the man that we could put, but no one's taking action.
Well, it's not against him; it's against his wife.
But he still participated in it. Technically, it was still his action to judge. Uh, what am I thinking of right now? Finish the sentence for me, please.
I'm not sure which case you're talking about. It was more that his wife was.
Like, no, didn't he judge on that? Like, to investigate that?
I don't think he did. I don't think he got to the Supreme Court about his wife.
Yeah.
I don't think his wife has had any trials yet. It's mainly just about how she's been affiliated with
Okay.
people. Like she pulled a Charlie Kirk in terms of she was funding people to fly into DC,
Okay.
which, you know, the difference between her and Charlie Kirk is that while Charlie Kirk is a prominent conservative, he's just that, a prominent conservative. Ginny Thomas is the wife of a Supreme Court justice.
Yeah,
Very different people.
unfortunately.
Yep, but I'm really happy that Ketanji Brown Jackson is getting Supreme Court for one, because we're actually going to have a black person that cares about black people.
Whoa.
Yeah, because Clarence Thomas is.
Like, didn't he do more
I
for
have
gay?
slurs. I have slurs.
Like, like, thankfully, he did things for the gay population.
No, he didn't. He hated gay people. He still hates gay people.
Didn't he have one action that helped the legalization of gay marriage?
No,
And who am I thinking
you're thinking about Neil Gorsuch.
of? That's the
Yeah, but he was a Trump appointee.
one. Okay, yeah.
And that was when he said that discriminating against people off of their sexuality is sexism, which is unconstitutional, which is true.
That's right. It was a Trump appointee.
Yeah, no, it was Neil Gorsuch. Clarence Thomas is resisting the urge to say so many terrible racial slurs about Clarence Thomas. I don't like him. I hate him. Please take over before I start screaming slurs
Okay,
and get
so
us banned
that
off
is
of Twitch.
that is our cue to move on to our. Oh God, we're moving on to our final segment. No.
But yeah, Ketanji Brown Jackson getting nominated is going to be great because for one, we're getting another liberal judge, which is definitely going to balance out the conservatives that we have on there. We're also getting a black person that cares about black people, but we're also getting someone who's fairly young. She's in her 50s, meaning that we're probably going to have her, for the next,
25 years.
20, 25, 30 years?
At most I want her to serve like 22 years because I hate keeping people in their 80s on the Supreme Court.
Yes, thank God Stephen Breyer decided to retire.
Like, oh my God, did he need to retire?
Yes, thank God. I mean, we don't want it. We saw what happened with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Love her, but she should have fucking retired back when Obama was president.
Yeah, and unfortunately, probably would have. Whoever was going to take her place probably would have suffered the same fate as Merrick Garland.
No, because we wanted her to retire before 2012
Oh,
or
that's
before
right.
2016. We wanted
That's
her.
right. That was before the massive Republican swing in the House and Senate, right?
Yeah, we wanted her to retire back in 2012, 2013.
Yeah, because that, like, right after that is when like massive red wave hit that, like,
Yeah.
hit Congress.
Yeah, and then Antonin Scalia died, which was completely unexpected, which is how we ended up with Neil Gorsuch, which I mean, of the three Trump appointees, Neil Gorsuch is the least objectionable one. I mean, once again, he did enshrine in law that stop discriminating against gay people. It's fucking sexist and that's unconstitutional.
Somehow that happened.
Yeah, I was surprised when I read it came from fucking Neil Gorsuch, but broken clocks and all.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways, our last segment is just what the fuck is the best way I could describe it.
You're the one who suggested this. You need to take over for this.
So I just want to talk about it because it's so fucking weird. So there's this pro-life woman in New York who had a bunch of fucking fetuses in her house.
Which,
And I just need answers.
for
why?
So for any leftist that is even politically aware, the irony of the situation is very evident.
I am disgusted and perplexed. What compels someone to have one fetus in their basement? That's fucking weird. But 415? I
You're gonna have to keep going. You got to keep going
I know. I'm just
because I mean, like, this is just a porn. This just betrays any amount of humanity that should even be like comprehensible.
Yes. So this weird, horrible waste of space is named Lauren Handy, and it wasn't New York; it was Washington D.C. My mistake. And they initially found one, and then they found five fetuses in her apartment. She is claiming uh, they were allowed to take 115 fetuses from a medical waste disposal company, which
Uh,
y-
uh, uh,
the company has since denied. But my question is that, so here's the thing. If this is true and it's 115 fetuses, you, as an anti-abortion activist that believes that these are actual dead babies, why in the ever-loving fuck would you ever keep that in your basement? From a pro-life perspective, you are hoarding the rotting corpses of dead children. What the fuck is wrong with you? That's some Hannibal Lecter shit.
yeah,
What the fuck is wrong with you, you fucking psycho?
yeah,
It's so fucking weird. But even if it's not 115, there's at least confirmed 5, which is 5 too many.
yeah. And like these fetuses could range anywhere from like the size of a hand to like a month away from birth.
Yeah. And while me being pro-choice, I don't necessarily view all fetal life as life, or at least
Like we all agree,
there's
like the point where we accept it as living life is when it's feasible outside of the womb.
exactly. While it's variable about when a fetus is viable outside of the womb, these are very clearly not, considering they're fucking dead. But even though we don't consider them like human life, it's still fucking weird because of the fact that from your perspective, those are dead children. From my perspective, it's weird because why the fuck do you want a bunch of women's medical waste?
Yeah, like from our perspective,
That's just
I have to clean up on my anatomy here. What else gets expelled during childbirth? It's
a lot of stuff.
what there's
I mean, some women shit themselves.
that's clearly not what I'm talking about. But you get the point. There are other elements that to us would probably be the same as like a fetus.
Yeah. Like, there's just a whole bunch of things that come out when.
Like we just view this as like very, very strange.
It's
Like
disgusting and only
it's
immoral in the sense that it's immoral because you're taking the bodily fluids and secretions of another person without their consent,
yeah.
which is just disgusting and weird. But if we're playing it by your rules and that you believe this is a life, this is effectively a form of near grave robbing.
Like this is almost akin to hunters hanging deer heads on their walls.
Except it's more grotesque because they were in boxes, and from their knowledge, this is supposed to be a dead human child. At least with hunters, they're animals, so at least we have the distinction that they're a separate species. To their knowledge, under their belief system, these are dead children. That's just fucking weird. What is wrong with you people? This is the most sane anti-abortion activist out there. What the fuck is wrong with you people? You guys are so fucking weird. Stop being so weird. Stop touching fetuses.
This whole story is cringe.
It's so I am perplexed. I remember when this broke last week and I read it and I was on the phone with my friend and I was like, I fucking like dry heaved because that was fucking disgusting. And then like the next day I was talking with my friend and I saw an update to 5 and I started dry heaving again because I was like, this is fucking disgusting. And then today I see this, oh, we don't have just 5, we have 115. And I'm just like, why are you admitting to this, you fucking weirdo? And the reason why I even wanted to talk about this on the podcast is just because I'm afraid this could be turned into a culture war wedge issue where the pro-life pundits will say, well, why are the left getting mad about a woman having fetuses if they don't think fetuses are life? Wouldn't it be pretty weird that they think it's creepy to have fetuses if they thought fetuses weren't life? To which I have to say, even if I don't think fetuses are life, that's still fucking weird because it's like if you decided to take people's shit out of the sewers and keep it for non-scientific purposes, but for a political statement.
Or even say this: what if the fetuses were past viability?
Then they're just dead bodies.
Yeah.
Which
then we would have a right to complain about.
Yeah.
Like, I guarantee you, like having no knowledge of this story, I guarantee you at least 2 of those are past, unless the article says otherwise.
I don't know, and I kind of don't want to look into it because I'm afraid I'm going to run into pictures, and then I'm probably going to have to fucking Roblox myself if that happens.
Yeah.
So I've been like dancing around this story because I don't want to see a picture of this because no, stop being fucking weird!
But unfortunately, the right does benefit from not understanding our positions.
Yeah.
They do.
They do. They absolutely do. It's just
like they can't
weird.
They can't comprehend our moral framework that we operate under. They just think that, oh, we're pro-choice and that's it. Like, no, we have a system of which we construct our beliefs
that lead us to being pro-choice.
Exactly.
We are pro-choice because we believe in we have a value system that leads us to believe that pro-choice is the correct choice. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I wanted to bring it up just because I can see it becoming a wedge issue in the future, and it's just best to get out ahead of it and be like, regardless of if you think fetuses are life, this is just fucking weird and disgusting. And if you are somehow, some way, in any way wanting to defend this woman, please check yourself into the closest mental hospital because you are not well and you do not deserve to be walking amongst us until you are properly rehabilitated.
Yeah, and we can defend ourselves all we want. We can say we are questioning this woman's hypocrisy. That's why we're mad.
I'm also questioning this woman's sanity just because.
But that's
why.
But that's when Republicans wouldn't care about what we say.
Yeah. But either way, under her framework, she has child carcasses in her basement, which is fucking weird. Under our framework, you have a bunch of bodily secretions from random women that you don't know that you're harvesting for a political statement, which is also really fucking weird.
Yeah.
And also illegal. Both ways. Because the other thing is that, you probably stole that.
Yeah.
Like,
now I'm just thinking about the logistics of carrying all those boxes.
Right?
Like, how many trips did this woman make? Look, okay,
how did you deal with the smell?
Would they even be like air vacs? I don't want to think about this anymore. Please, let's move to the outro, please.
That was everything we had, folks.
Why did you make this the last segment? I hate you.
I wanted to start with it!
I gave you an in to make that our second political segment. I gave you an in.
I didn't see it.
How? I literally took a piece of wood and a hammer and nailed it to your face.
You do realize that if you nail something to my face, I can't see what is said because it's nailed to my face, It's like when Patrick had the 2x4 nailed to his skull and he tried to walk into a door. You can't see it!
It's nailed on your forehead and it extends to your eyeballs so you can see it.
You did it the wrong way. Anyways, folks, that was our episode.
I hate you for this episode.
I mean, we started out with undead doctor and
No, I am not allowing you to finish that sentence. Do not make a trivial analogy to this. I refuse to let you do that. I saw where you were going, and I have to shut that down.
Okay, fine.
You can catch us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. I've been your host, Sovereign.
And I'm Shiny.
And we are signing off for the night. Pray that Shiny is alive next week.